Skydance Animation, one of the newer animation studios to come out this decade, and one of the most controversial. How do you for on a Disney executive John Lasseter, who was for due to issues of sexual misconduct. That, yeah, well, the controversy around this studio is completely understandable. I wouldn't say the movies they've released are bad. I talked about Spellbound yesterday, and I really liked that one. And the same can be said about that first one, Love. I've yet to see the series one, Love, but they managed to make 3 seasons of it, so I might check it out at some point. This brings us to our newest animated film and the subject of today's review, Swapped. And I gotta say, I didn't think much of it, but when I saw the trailer, I got pretty excited. Did it look like it was going to be one of the best films of the year? No. But it did look like it was going to be a pretty fun and enjoyable little animated feature. Nothing wrong with that. So I decided to do the best thing for me to do was go ahead and give it a watch. And I gotta say, wow. I was expecting something good, but man, I really love this one. I have a feeling this may or may not be a controversial take because as from the reviews I've seen, it's a mix of some like it, some but me personally, I love this one. And so much. First of all, I adore the world building. I think the movie has so much interest as to the world building about these magical trees that have these pods that can change animals into other animals to make them understand and each other until one wolf come on one of the pods to become a dangerous fire wolf that separated all the animals and killed off these magical trees called Zol. Oh, the history of the world was something I really got fascinated in. I was interested to see either how the world expanded. In fact, I'll say now that the entire first act of the film is probably my favourite part. Art, the way it sets up the entire world, as well as introduces us to our main character, and how the conflict between the Uku and Jack when it began. And what was really interesting and enough to get me emotionally invested. And then as the moment where the Uku Ollie and the Jack when Ivy switch up body, these were Ivy become the Puku and Ollie becomes a Jack. And I'll admit, I was worried at first that this would become the typical Ollie swap film. And it does kind of start off that way. And I'll admit that as soon as they did transform, I did notice a bit of a downgrade coming to the story, as I thought it was just going to follow the typical beats you'd expect from this type of film. But I don't know. As the story got on, I kind of forgot about that issue, as it got a lot better than I thought. This is mainly thanks to the characters of Ollie and Ivy themselves. Sure. Or when you first look at them, they don't seem to have much going for them. Ollie's the little pook who that felt ill-skilled, because he's the one that put all his family in danger. Do you know what? Ivy is the strong bossy leader of the Jack. Acting that has a bit of an ego, thinking she knows best. However, as the film goes on, the feature explores more of these that archetypes to understand why they're like this. And it is quite understandable, making the characters a bit to a lot more likable. Oh, and I did find myself really enjoying them. Well, I was hoping the best came out for these two in the end. And and the voice acting is also pretty good. Not some of the best I've seen in the movie, and there were a few that out flat. But I think the main performances, especially from Michael B. Jordan as Ollie, they are handled really well. And I did enjoy without or the effort they put in. And the side characters are also interesting, but while they don't show much of their personality, they do give enough to explain a bit more about them. There's this fish called a boog. The deal meat that I thought would just be meant there to be a comic relief. But he does have a pretty interesting twist as the film goes on. There's these pack of wolves that seem dangerous, just don't grow to respect to do well after the Ollie say if they leave the sun. And then there is the firewolf. I believe one of the most interesting villains I've seen in a while. The twist about Tim was unexpected. He has a ever fought on before or moment, and the way he can strike fear into the entire valley is very fascinating and interesting. Thing. He was definitely an intriguing villain, where I did find myself getting invested with him. But I've saved the film's best element to last, and that is the animation. And Skydance's previous films have looked pretty good, like with Luck and Spellbound, but this is easily the best looking ones out of the three. The movie looks gorgeous. I especially like the look at the woods, Urton Valley, where and when it first started, it kind of gave the feel of a stop motion feature. So, did it like? There are also a lot of different beautiful elements of the animation that I found myself really invested in. And that's why I said earlier that the opening was one of my favourite parts of the film. The scene where young Ollie is swimming in the water and he sees all these different plants become creatures, and he's just fascinated by the world. It is something I found myself to get invested in quite quickly. I also really love the design of the animals because, my gosh, these things look gorgeous. They just they have a right amount of realisticness to them, but also enough to show that they are cartoony. Only thanks to the use of shape, apes built as apes that help to build some certain animals like the Puku and the Jack. Quinn. It also helps that the film has a huge scale. There are some any time. I was just left in awe of how big the world of the movie really was, as my jaw dropped up by how excellent it just looked. But I think the highlights of the animation that's when Andy used the pods to transform. They happen a little bit more than I thought. And they don't happen all the time, I'll admit, but when they do, it is creative ages to see how they can change from one animal to another. Not to mention the law of how these pods work. It's really quite enjoyable, but I'm very interesting to follow. So overall, I understand if this might seem like a controversial opinion, but man, Swaps is what Opt is a really beautiful movie. Well, it did struggle a bit when the lead East first transformed. It more than makes up for it with a highly engaging story, incredible animation, likable characters, and some decent voice acting. If you're just looking for a fun little animated film on Netflix, then go ahead and give this one a watch. You will not be disappointed. I'll admit, I have not been huge on Netflix's output this year. They have been able to release some decent film, almost like Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man, but a lot of other films from them on this year, like The Rip and War Machine, it fall all quite flat for me. But I can definitely say that this is easily the best film so far this year. And if they can keep this quality up with that other animated films they plan to release this year, like Step, Epps and Raygun, and then I can at least say that Action Division did well this year. And that's why I'm giving this film a solid 9 out of 10. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!